Hello and welcome to this one shot of Hearts of Wulin, titled Wedding of Starlight and Mirrors. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and we're going to be creating characters in the first segment of this game. I'm taking a break and then we'll be playing through. This is a one shot. So one thing that might happen is when we get to that last hour, or if we're running up a time, if we get that last sort of half hour, you may see me hard frame scenes together, move people into position just to get us in a place where things wrap up, or we can at least get the confrontations going. So just because this is a one shot, I wanted to make you aware that might happen. This game is part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar, which is an online gaming club / community. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. We have our big online Gauntlet Community Open Gaming, which is a free con coming up in mid-October. If you go to our site, you can find more information about that. There's still some games with spaces open, but we've got a lot of them filled. It's been striking. We've got a lot of great indie games on that. So what I'm going to be doing is going through the pitch and then the cats for Hearts of Wulin, and then we'll talk a little bit about safety, and we'll roll into our character creation. I'll talk about what that means. So the basic pitch before we even get to cats is that we have a marriage, and this marriage is going to cement an alliance between two factions of the wuxia world, but not everybody wants that. So hearts are going to be broken, loves are going to be confessed, villains confronted. We're going to find out whether your heart yearns for the groom or for the bride, or maybe the object of your affection is in love with one of them. We will figure that out. And there are rumors of a villainous force in the background who wants to disrupt this wedding, or maybe you do. We'll also find that out. Just for reference, to make things a little bit easier to work with, I have an NPC tab, and I've put pictures on there. I put the groom and bride and father, and then there's a bunch of other NPCs. That way, when you come up with entanglements, you can go there and find those people and so on. Besides that top row, any of the rows downwards, the pronouns aren't fixed if you want to change those around on any of those characters. So those are available for you. Let me talk about the cats for this game. So in Hearts of Wulin, you're going to be playing martial heroes, much like you might have seen in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This is a fantastical version of classic China. As Wulin heroes, you exist slightly outside the normal society, outside of the common folk, outside of imperial authority. In this world, we've got factions and orders that are competing and scheming. You have extraordinary athletic and fighting skills, but you're still bound by your heart. You'll find yourself in conflict with your loves, your duties, desires, and emotions. So that's a basic concept. Our aim is we begin with our character creation. We'll develop your story. We'll have you introduce yourself, and then we'll create a web of entanglements, a general and a romantic, that will connect you to NPCs and other characters. And then after a break, we'll get to an inciting incident. We assume that all of you know each other, at least in passing. You may be directly connected via entanglements. You are all heading to this wedding. And while the plot is important, what's more important is interactions with PCs and NPCs. That's the big aim, is to play out those things. Our tone is melodramatic. In these stories, emotions, reactions, and passions, all of those things are heightened. Our characters have to maintain their facade in the face of all of this. So we play it straight, serious but not grim. There's room for comedy and humor, but that should complement the play. Characters may be laughing in one scene and cradling their dead lover in another. There's that switch back. It's not always heartbreak. It's not always tragedy. Sometimes you'll find your love, but sometimes the world will conspire against that. So the sort of subject matter is these duels, character interactions, exploring and expressing your feelings. This is all done with PbtA, and I know you're all familiar with that. The one difference is from standard PbtA is most of the moves don't have a set stat that you roll with. You will choose what stat you wish to roll with. That kind of describes how you're doing it. And so that's a difference. The only restrictions are you have a combat style that has an element associated with it, and you always roll when you fight with that particular element. And then when you roll inner conflict, when you face those heartbreaks and things, you can't roll with your fighting element. So you can't roll with your best stat usually. So one of the things I want to mention is this plays out in a mythical China. It is based primarily on wuxia dramas, the stories of Gulong and Jin Yong that had been adapted into TV shows, the sort of long-running shows, and now more modern things like Word of Honor and those kinds of shows that are based on like web novels and things. Obviously, this isn't our cultural background, but we want to treat it with as much respect as we can. I always say, even though I know you all know this, don't do accents. You can do voices, but don't do accents and these kinds of things. Let's talk about our safety tools that we have. I noticed that a lot of people have already gone through and marked on our lines and veils. Lines and veils is our baseline for establishing things. Hard lines, we don't want to see. Veils will fade to black on or turn away from. And then we've got ask first for anything that we want to check in before we have that happen. So that's our baseline. You can mark that as we go through character creation. Before we go to introductions, I'll go through and review out loud what we've got for lines and veils. Next, we have the X card. The X card is used to mark out. You can do that verbally. You can do that in the chat. You can do the gesture to mark out when we hit material that you find objectionable, that you find problematic, language that you find objectionable, problematic. If something feels wildly off tone, that's another reason to X card something. Another good reason is if maybe we're starting to lean towards a line or a veil, and maybe we haven't caught it, that you spotted that maybe we're heading towards that territory, and it looks like we maybe haven't caught it. That's a good time to X card and mark that out for us. You never have to justify or explain why you've chosen to X card something. The only question you might ask is where we need to cut back to. Then the last tool we have is open door. Essentially, if you have to step away, if you have to leave for whatever reason, you are more than welcome to. If you can give us a heads up, maybe about that you might return or not return, that would be nice, but not required. You may find that this game is not the game for you. And if so, you're welcome to step away. You should never commit yourself and play something you don't like. I've been in board games like that. It's no fun. So we are going to then look at the characters. We have 6 playbooks on the table. Each playbook has 3 roles associated with it. So when you choose a playbook, you're going to choose that playbook and then choose a particular role from it. You're going to get that role move. So if we're looking at the playbooks tab, the aware is our kind of scholarly, perceptive type, and it has the master, scholar, and the traveling teacher as the sort of 3 roles. You would choose your playbook, you would choose a role from that, and then you will choose one move from the list below, and you can choose another one in play. You can choose both of your moves at the start if you want, but you don't have to commit to that second move. It is possible if 2 people want to play the same playbook, that is okay, but we want to make sure we check in and negotiate on that. I do want people to take different roles, and you want to negotiate about what moves you take. So Sherry, I'm going to start with you. What playbook have you chosen / are you interested in?
I have chosen, I hope, Bravo, and then the role within it is thief.
Okay. I know you had a definitive concept coming in. So,
Well, it just something came to me, but
Okay.
if someone desperately also wants to do that, I would have no problem being a sister thief to them. Oh, sorry.
David, what would you like to play?
I'm quite open, to be honest. I've played quite a bit of Hearts of Wulin in my time, so I feel like I've hit a lot of the archetypes before. So yeah.
Do you want me to check in with Lyra first?
Indeed, yeah, that'd be cool.
Lyra, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the playbooks, or you're familiar with those, or if you'd like me to go through them, I can do that, or if something you've already got your heart set on.
I had a brief look through them. I didn't. I tend not to. Maybe I should for one shots, but I tend not to come in having chosen playbooks because I like choosing them kind of to play off other characters, and so yeah, I've had a brief look at them, but it's. I always kind of like lean towards scholars, but I'm tempted to go for something a little bit different tonight.
Do you have any questions about any of the role moves or any what those might mean?
No, I don't think so. I think that I'm tempted to go for quite like the sound of a wanderer. I might go for a wanderer.
That is a good choice. It's a fun. The outsider is fun, and in fact, we'll definitely, when you arrive at the wedding, that'll definitely trigger off that and gives you some fiction to play from. So let's tentatively say outsider wanderer. Let's check in with David.
Yeah, I think, in which case I'm tempted to go for I'm thinking I might go for an unorthodox, probably the accidental.
Ooh, interesting.
As I've not played with that before, so.
Okay. So one of the questions we'll have for you is like, okay, how much do you know that you can actually do these things, and how much is it totally uncertain? So with playbooks in mind, with the role moves in mind, there is a tab for character creation that walks through examples for look and name, dress. You'll choose that. You will choose your fighting style, which means that you choose a name for it. Oh, let's hang on. Let's get Alan in here. We'll get him to choose a playbook, and then we'll talk about the fighting style.
My
Hello.
apologies.
That is okay. I figured that Paul must have messed with your stuff when he was visiting you.
Yes, it's his fault.
Yes. So I want to throw you to what playbooks remain right now. We were just moving on from there. So we have a outsider wanderer. We have an unorthodox accidental, and we have a bravo thief. So the playbooks that remain are the aware, student, and loyal.
Yeah, aware master, please.
Okay, absolutely. All right. So you've seen the pitch from the thing. We're going to assume that everybody has a purpose for going to this wedding. You're all traveling there, and you all at least know each other. So on the character creation tab, style, you're going to come up with what you're going to call your style. You're going to choose a style element for it, and you're going to choose what kinds of weapons primarily it's used with. This is all color. It's all delightful color rather than having a lot of mechanical weight to it. You'll then assign your stats, the elements, +2, +1, +1, 0, -1. And then you'll choose your role and your playbook moves. I'm going to let everybody do those choices. When we're done with that, I will come around. We will do introductions. I'll look at the lines and veils, and we'll talk about safety. And if anyone has any questions as we're going along, I'm going to stop talking for a bit, for one thing. Then give me a heads up. But we'll give you a few minutes to make those choices. Alan, I do need to check. Are you okay with recording?
Oh, God, yes.
I just wanted to make sure. I always like to get verbal confirmation. going to give you a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to go to introductions. Okay. I'm going to go in kind of the order I had you all pick your playbooks, and I'll have you introduce your characters, your concept for them, and we'll go through that. So, Sherry, can you tell us about your character?
Sure. Let's see here. My character is named Silver Sparrow. She is Bravo Thief. Her look is young, innocent, and wealthy. She is lovely, and I would say that she seems impractical, naive, and tenderhearted. In fact, that was exactly how she was when she was a child. But as she's grown, she's come to realize that justice needs an unlikely ally on occasion. And so she has taught herself and found techniques that make it easier for her to set the course of justice back on the path that it needs to be on, mostly by stealing things that are the crux of a situation and, let's say, making sure that her pursuit leads to even more of the evidence of wrongdoings and injustice, if that makes any sense. And in that, she has a set of people who have pursued her over many adventures. So let's see here. I took water as my element. That is for awareness, wisdom, and flexibility. Her weapon style is called Implausible Blade. She uses an edged cloth, essentially part of the belting around her outfit that she wears usually, but she can use cloth in any ways like a whip, but for an actual cutting edge, she would need that edged cloth. And she's moderately good at earth and fire, so she's passionate and creative, can be cautious and focus very well. She's terrifically bad at patience. And yeah, and her curiosity when it is piqued leads her into dangerous places. So that is just how it is. The move that I took, my role move is essentially the thief move is you have a charming smile and live well, but behind the scenes you indulge in a life of crime. You're not a common criminal. You simply deserve the finer things in life and only steal from those who can afford it. Bloated nobles and corrupt officials. You have a criminal identity with a legendary name, and that is Gold-Eyed Wing.
Gold-Eyed Wing. Okay.
And I also have a foil, a magistrate or investigating official who pursues you but passes you information via their bumbling. So that's magistrate's son, who's sort of the top magistrate. However, the one that I consider my rival is Dawning Joy, her junior, who's far more clever than magistrate's son.
So the bride.
Yes, the bride, it turns out,
Okay.
which is why I'm attending this wedding.
Okay. So the bride is a magistrate. So we've got that information on there.
I took the move, it takes a thief, which means I can slip from bonds, pass through locked doors and windows. And it also means that when I fight, I'm very elegant and my outfit never gets wrinkled. I never spill my wine. There's no sort of sloppiness in the thing. And I had to choose my other move.
Okay.
So
you can choose that on the fly.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that gives us a, let me ask you this style that, was it a family trained? Did you learn from a mentor? How did this come about?
I think that it was probably from a mentor,
Okay.
probably a family friend, if that makes any sense. I was well trained. I have probably some standard martial arts, of how to use a blade and that sort of thing. But of course, she never uses those. She has to be mysterious and spectacular. So that is why she has opted for this sort of more obscure thing.
So you do your secret identity character, your public face is from a highly placed Wulin wuxia family.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that gives us, I think, enough to work from. We're going to come back to you to get you to define your romantic and your general entanglements. You can think about that as we're getting everybody else introduced. There are examples on the entanglements and names pages. I've got some of them curated by playbook. But if none of those appeal to you, there's a bigger list down below. So those are all there for you to think about. Let's come to David. David, tell us about your character.
Yeah, so I'm going to be playing Mei Shuying, who uses he, him pronouns. Mei Shuying is, as mentioned previously, he's unorthodox in the accidental archetype. Essentially, Mei Shuying is an actor who has been hired to, perform in some part of the festivities for this for the upcoming wedding. Mei Shuying is not truly considered a part of the Wulin world. Obviously knows some stage fighting because one has to if one has become a great opera star. However, it turns out that there may be a little more to Mei Shuying's talents than at first appears. So the moves that I've gone for with Mei are the way of choices, which is when I defeat a named foe, rather than if I show them mercy, I may humiliate them comically as I get the better of them. And I've also taken shadow boxing. There is a secret group, perhaps positioning Mei Shuying here at the wedding for their own nefarious purposes. I think there's every chance that Mei Shuying has absolutely no idea that they're positioning him for whatever it is they've sent him here for.
That is perfect. Is a nice fit there. So, like, what kind of roles are you the lead? Would you imagine in these performances?
I think it kind of varies a little bit, but I think I think it's probably a mix of the kind of young dramatic hero role, possibly some of the female roles as well. But yeah, that's definitely in the, Mei Shi Ying is a fairly young man, and I think it sort of plays those sort of younger roles, not the kind of the older generals and the like.
Did you come from a noble family? Were you born to an actor's family?
I think he's from a family of actors.
Okay.
I think was sort of brought up on the stage.
If this was a long-running series, we would have seen maybe some hints that there's more to this family than lets on, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's maybe a surprisingly well-connected uncle or similar who's been subtly guiding him. But yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And those are great pictures you have there. We will get everybody else introduced, and then we'll come back to look at those entanglements with you. Okay. Let us come then to Lyra. Tell us about your character.
So I'm playing Chen, the Traveler. Simply introduces himself as Chen, no other details. When someone asks his name, where he comes from. He's handsome with a wild beard, wearing road-worn clothes, but you can still see the fineness of them kind of underneath the road grime. It's clear that kind of a few years back these were finely made clothes. And Chen walked into the wedding along the North Road and walked over the horizon, never altered his pace, arrived precisely on time for the wedding. And I think we may find out in play why he was let in rather than turned away at the gate. Yeah, I failed to find a picture of a tall, handsome traveler with a staff and a wild beard.
Well, I can actually probably assist you in this, that you can look at for a bit and go down the rabbit hole of this. Here is my wuxia Pinterest board.
Brilliant. I shall look at that during the break.
So tell us about your fighting style. Like, what's the element? What are you using the staff to fight with?
So yes, I'm using the staff to fight with. The element is wood, and the style is called Swaying Tree, and it's a very kind of centered, kind of still style, and uses the opponent's kind of energy and movement against them, kind of lots of kind of tripping. It's like you see Chen fighting, and it's and he's barely moving, and the opponent is kind of flying all around, and he just kind of makes one movement at one point, and that's kind of the crucial thing, assuming it's going well. Obviously, it may not always be going well. I may actually change this because I'm not sure what I'm describing works with Earth -1. I think I might do Fire -1 and yeah, would
that those minuses can represent either a lack of ability in there, or a lack of control, like you can't quite focus it. So there are a couple of ways to read that. Yeah.
I like that idea, in that I think he has tendencies towards kind of impulsiveness and kind of wildness. So hence the kind of the traveling out of the blue, perhaps. But he kind of he works very hard to control that, and that's I think his fighting style is also it's his fighting style because it's a mental discipline for him as well. He needs to practice being unmoved, maybe or feels that he does, maybe because of something that happened in the past, which may come up in play.
And the moves that you've chosen?
Yeah, so my role move is as the Wanderer is first time each session I'm in a town or region. On a hit, someone remembers me favorably, gain a bond with an NPC, a template day or a death of gratitude, or miss, you learn of a tragedy or betrayal you left in your wake. And the moves I chose are the water margin. I may appear as any faction to those who do not know the truth of my allegiances.
Nice.
They accept this until proven otherwise. And also have sword will travel, even though I don't have a sword. But once per session, you may declare you arrived somewhere in the nick of time to aid or intervene. Afterwards, you may explain how you came to be there. So I'm assuming this is, given the setup, it's a kind of, it's perhaps narrower than the playbook move maybe originally intended. It's kind of, I'm imagining I show up in a particular conversation or particular conflict.
You can define it however you want to. I mean, it can be like, where did he come from, or where did she come from, or where did they come from? We don't know. It is up to you. We are not restrained by plausibility.
I think you will probably, when that's invoked, find me already standing there, and no one's seen me there. I just step forward. It turns out I've been there all along. Perfect.
All right. I'll have you take a look at the example entanglements. We'll come back and check in with you on those. Now, last but not least, Master Falling Blossom.
Hello, my name is Alan. My pronouns are he, him. And first of all, apologies. My personal time zone says Gauntlet is 7 o'clock. Sorry. You caught me out, though. I'm playing Master Falling Blossom, he, him. This is the Aware Master Playbook. He is a scruffy old monk who is blind. And yet, he stumbles rarely. He travels, he teaches, he solves, he offers solutions. He doesn't solve problems, he offers solutions. And it is the east wind that has blown him here. The east wind usually knows where Falling Blossom is required or needed. And it turns out that there are some people at this wedding that he knows. What a strange coincidence. I have focused on earth as my core attribute, and that is the style that drives Dancing Note. Blossom prefers not to think of it as a fighting style. Blossom prefers to think of it as a solution style. And his weapon, his preferred weapon, is a long flute. The moves I've chosen, well, Master, the one that goes with this combination of playbook and role, I am a paragon of calm and thoughtfulness. And violence is such a messy thing that I much prefer to intervene and solve conflicts before it comes to that. The other moves I've chosen are Legends of Awakening, which allows me to use another element for combat. Horrible word, combat. When mine is marked, and when I mark an element as a result of, the other one, Ashes of Time. When I mark an element as a result of in a conflict, I immediately create a bond with someone as I reflect on the lesson they deliberately or often inadvertently taught me.
So you're a traveler, skilled with your flute. What do you think is your reputation? Did you once belong to a wuxia order, or to perhaps a monastery of some kind, or are you just like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think almost certainly I am one of the brothers of the falling leaf. a monastery high in the mountains. And there are only about 4 brothers, and we are each commanded by a different wind.
Nice. All right, excellent. That gives us, I think, enough information to work with. We will come to you to talk about entanglements in just a moment. Before I go too much further, let's briefly go through what we have as lines and veils, just so everybody's on the same page. We have hard lines on harm to children, homophobia, racism, rioting, and torture. And then we have veils, meaning sort of fade to black, on eye injuries or graphic gore. And we've asked first for anything about bullying, for mind control, for sexual content, or for suicide. So if we're going to be heading towards those kinds of stories or notes, we want to make sure that we check in with the group, poll the table before we do that. All right, so we're going to do entanglements now. Again, yes.
Yes, Alan's written it in the chat. I think that line was on sexual assault rather than rioting.
Oh, thank you.
It's okay.
No one
Yes.
minds a riot.
There we go. Yeah, too many lines across. Excellent. Let me talk about entanglements. Entanglements are triangles. They are a relationship that you have with one person that is complicated by your relationship with another person. And everyone's going to have a romantic one. Romantic doesn't necessarily mean sexual passion or anything like that. It can be strong affection, love, admiration, unrequited. There are various degrees with that. Aromantic characters can play with that as they wish to. The idea here is that you've got NPCs on the NPC tab. You can pick one of those, many of them, to add into your entanglements. Once you do that, you'll kind of establish some fiction for them. It would behoove us if in at least one of those 2 entanglements, you include a PC. So you want to rope a PC into at least one of those 2. You can do it in both, but at least one. So I want to start back with Silver Sparrow. We're going to go around and each of us do one. Silver Sparrow, would you like to start with your general or your romantic entanglement?
A romantic entanglement.
Okay.
So I think it would go something like this. Magistrate's son is humorless and pedantic, but probably my best ally in opposing the marriage of Dawning Joy, my rival and essentially my rival and then ...
So Magistrate Son, do we have a picture for which they are on? Are they on the sheet?
Yes, they are on the sheet.
So we've got them. What pronouns do you want to use for Magistrate Son? Do you want to use they, them?
They, them. I think it's much to the annoyance of many people that they are uncertain, and Magistrate Son likes that. That's the closest thing to a sense of humor that one ever sees from Magistrate Son.
Excellent. So Magistrate Son maybe doesn't care for your identity, but also wants to maybe disrupt this. Those are unofficial, so they really can't.
Exactly. They need me.
Perfect. Let's come to Flawless Jewel. David, would you like to do your romantic or your general first?
Into the wrong tab. Yes, I think I'll do my my general first. We'll go with that because I've already got one name plugged in there.
Okay.
So I think my master, Iron Voice Yearn, has secretly trained me as part of a revenge plot against my friend Blank. So I don't know if any of the other PCs feel like stepping into the role of that person who my master is plotting against, or otherwise I might go for one of the NPCs we already have established. In this context, I Iron Voice Yan is Mei Xiying's grandfather, who is the kind of the head of our opera company, and almost certainly not a secret assassin in disguise.
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
I think it would be fine if it were me, because I've probably gotten in the way of some of the plots that they had going. And I certainly would be a fan of yours.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. I like that.
Okay. Excellent. So we may see grandfather on stage, or we may simply hear his voice in the background as this goes along. That is excellent. Let us come to Chen. Chen, would you like to start with your general or your romantic?
I'll start with my romantic, and I'm going for I fled from Righteous Jade, who is the groom, because of the heartache. But Blank, their lover, has called me back to know a debt.
Ooh.
And I'm happy for that lover to be the bride, but it may be more interesting if it isn't.
Ooh, that's interesting. We've got a number of lovely people on that NPC tab.
Captain Feng, perhaps.
Excellent. And what do you suppose his role is? Is he part of the household guard? Is he a military person?
I think he's the head of the household guard. He's
Okay.
like kind of chief personal security for Righteous Jade, and that provides suitable cover for their trysts.
Excellent. And what do you think the debt is that he's calling on for you?
I think that it's I think Chen's kind of slightly older than slightly older than Captain Feng, and I think it's a blood debt. I think I killed his brother in a duel, and
Maybe one you didn't want to get into.
Yeah, and
okay.
certainly didn't intend to. I think that's part of my kind of impulsiveness. I don't think I intended to kill this brother. I think I misjudged something in the fight, and a blow that I was meant to pull, I didn't manage to pull, and I think that Feng has called me back to. I think he wants me to. I think he wants me to lead a doomed expedition to kind of restore my honor.
Or at least that's what he's told you in the letter that he sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Let us come to Master Falling Blossom. Which would you prefer to do?
Well, I'd like to go with a non-romantic
okay.
entanglement, because I would quite like a prophecy to have kept me and one of the other player characters apart, because they would benefit from my teaching. And I will admit that my principal target would be Silver Sparrow, because this is a young woman with immense potential, but sadly she wastes it. And I would like Dawning Joy, the bride, to have come to me seeking my wisdom, but I told her that she was not the chosen one. And so she's determined to ensure that Silver Sparrow does not benefit from my wisdom.
Now,
Is that okay with you, Sherry?
Yeah, here's the question. Is it Silver Sparrow or is it Silver Sparrow's thiefly identity?
I think it's Silver Sparrow.
Okay.
Because I think what I know is that Silver Sparrow is this, she appears to be frivolous, talented but frivolous. And that is such a waste.
Excellent. Does that work for you, Sherry?
Yes.
Okay. Then let us come back to you, Silver Sparrow, and get your other entanglement. It would be excellent for you now to include a PC.
Yes.
Right now, you don't have a connection with Chen.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So I do think that it will be Chen is like I've probably crossed paths with Chen on lots of situations, and but never like we were on the same business. My guess is that at one point though, you probably appeared suddenly and rescued me from a situation where I'd gotten in a little deep, just sort of pulled me out and then never asked any questions and left. So I think I owe you a debt. But someone, let's see here. I think I like that one, that I owe you a debt. But let's see, what would be the complication to that? Let's look for who's like absolutely heartbreaking to have opposing. How about Perfect Cloud, who's a friend of Righteous Jades, but also a cousin of mine, has said that I shouldn't help you at all, that you're bad, that you're essentially bad company.
Bad news.
Bad news. Absolute
Years
bad
ago,
news.
broke poor Righteous Jade's heart. That is a scoundrel. Does that work for you, Lyra?
Yeah, absolutely. I not only broke Righteous Jade's heart, but killed cousin. It would be uncle, probably. No, it would be cousin as well. Killed. I've forgotten the name that was stopping this. Sherry.
Wait, Perfect Cloud?
Perfect Cloud, that's it. I killed Perfect Cloud's cousin and then fled, and so I'm clearly a kind of bad, dishonorable person.
Okay.
Excellent. Bodies in your wake. Interesting, Chen. Then let's come back to Flawless Jewel. What do you want for your other entanglement?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go for my romantic entanglement. I think I'm going to go for I still pursue blank, who rejected me despite the interference of blank, who holds an unrequited love. I'm wondering if anyone is interested in filling in one or other of those blanks, or has any thoughts on that. But otherwise, I can work something out.
I would love to be, despite the interference of Master Falling Blossom, because it's in his nature to be helpful, and despite my help, you still pursue, because I hold an unrequited love for whoever you are pursuing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can definitely work with that, I think. I'm wondering who would be interesting here.
Maybe you could put Magistrate's son.
Yeah, Magistrate's son sounds fun.
That ties a couple of things together. Does that work for you, Mr. Falling Blossom? Excellent.
Yeah, can we leave it open who my unrequited love might be for?
Whether it's for
Flawless Jewel or Magistrate's son.
absolutely. Does that work for you, David?
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
Excellent. And that brings us back to Chen. What do you want to do for your other entanglement?
I've learned that my friend Blank has been betrayed by their teacher, but they will never believe me. And I think who the teacher is depends on who my friend who's been betrayed is, and other APCs anyone who wants to take that one. Being betrayed by their teacher, but not going to believe it.
I mean, it is possible we could be friends on the basis that we both travel a lot. Equally, I may have been someone's teacher. So pays your money, takes your choice.
I think that would your teacher still be still be alive to betray you?
Oh, that is a fair point.
And we could modify this that you've talked about the four masters.
Ooh,
Maybe it's another one of
yes.
your colleagues.
By their brother in leaves.
Yes, I like that. Yes, I think we have become friends on the road, kind of walking together, kind of sharing a meal in an inn, that sort of thing. And I see a lot of things on the road, and I'm not sure. I'm kind of blanking on what form this betrayal takes, but I've been let's say the brother of the South Wind. Do we have an NPC who could?
I have a suggestion to make it especially complicated. Is that's the bride's father, Iron Lion. Does that work for you?
Yes, definitely.
And we'll work out what exactly that betrayal is about. But we would put them in the picture then.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
All right. Master Falling Blossom, what do you want for your general?
Yeah, I'm toying with this. I'm curious about whether I view Shadow Chime as a villain, not knowing that Shadow Chime is Silver Sparrow. Is that getting overly tight?
What do you think, Sherry?
I don't know. It's interesting.
The idea of having two fundamentally different relationships with the same person, depending on which mask they're wearing.
Exactly. No, that sounds very amusing, because who knows when you'll meet them.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
And I suspect my friend's sibling is the villain Shadow Chime. So I guess then the question, am I interested in another PC being drawn into that, or is that winding it too tight? Or do we have someone else who is in play who would be helpful in I spent my friend. Is it possible that magistrate's son? Oh no, that doesn't fly, does it? I don't know.
You
I'm at
could
a loss.
you could suspect that it's Perfect Cloud, Silver Sparrow's cousin. Like, you know, it's someone in the family, and it could certainly couldn't be Silver Sparrow.
No, absolutely not, because that's the girl with potential.
Absolutely.
So give me that name again, so I can just.
Perfect Cloud.
Perfect Cloud.
He is down at D58 on the NPCs.
Thank you.
I will probably during the break move some pictures up just to get things a little bit arranged there. That sounds good. What you're going to do now, the last thing for character creation, is each of those entanglements has two people. You're going to choose one of them to have a bond with. And write that in here. So you're going to get two bonds, one from each of the entanglements. Bonds are a currency that you can spend. If you have a bond with someone, you can spend that bond to aid them. And you can always spend your bonds, regardless of who they're with, to aid yourself after a roll. So you're going to have essentially two sort of floating +1 forwards there. We're going to take our break here. Let's go to 30 after, and then we'll come back. Okay, sound good? All right. So, Master Falling Blossom, how long has it been since you last crossed paths with Chen? A short time, a long time?
I think it's been a season or so, because Chen has their own plans and I am born by the wind.
And tell me, what has been the omen or the mental thing that has kind of pushed you to come this way?
Yes, I think this prophecy, which I've christened the Darkened Note, or the Shadowed Note, maybe. I think that I've been having dreams of a prophecy, and that somehow going where the wind sent me at this particular time would bring me closer to resolving the prophecy.
And so you have been traveling along, you've arrived, there's a beautiful town here, a large body of water, the estate of the family is on the water. There's the city is outside. There's a big festival boat outside as well. Everything is decorated. The family has spent a great deal of money to make everything look beautiful. Chen, you have arrived at the first day, the auspicious day. It is the day before the wedding. This is a preparatory day, but it is the auspicious day. You have arrived. What sign or signal or thing that you've noticed as you've come in suggests to you that maybe not everything is going as it should? Is it, some things not prepared as well? Is it shady characters? Is it something else? What have you noticed?
I think I see righteous jade and kind of after kind of that heart-stopping moment of seeing my unrequited love for the first time in years, I noticed that he is berating a group of people who have erected a marquee kind of wrongly, and it's kind of it's collapsed and fallen over, and he's actually he ends up shooing them away and putting this up by himself, like as because he gets so frustrated with kind of the I don't think these are servants. I don't want that trope of kind of berating servants. Sure. I think these are a kind of external entertainers, perhaps, that have been brought in, but have ended up kind of like it ended up sliding over onto a table of food and kind of like messing up this perfectly prepared spread.
And you mentioned this is the first time you've seen your love in years. So we're going to start right out of the gate with a move called inner conflict. So when you're kind of faced with the pain of those entanglements and connections, you roll. You can roll with anything except wood.
Oh, it's got to be fire, hasn't it?
Okay.
So have a look. I assume it's standard 2d6.
Yep.
Do we? Ah, yes.
Just dropped it in the chat.
Dice roller. 6 minus 1. That is a 4.
That is a 4. So the first thing you're going to do is mark your fire element. There's that little box there. Mark that. That means that until you get that cleared, you cannot roll with that element. It is your damage track. And I think, Master Falling Blossom, as you see, come along and you see Chen, and you see Chen look, and you see him stop. And I think that, Master Falling Blossom, you put 2 and 2 together. I think Chen is not hiding his feelings. Does that seem like a fair move there, Lyra?
Oh yes, oh yes. And even through my blind eyes, I see that
Feel
expression of pain.
What do you
just
do?
The aura.
What do you do, Master Blossom?
I take the flute and I blow a single note that Chen will recognize as my calling card, and continue to play as I approach Chen. There's a lot. This is a busy place, and yet blind Falling Blossom carefully steps around people, playing his flute as he approaches Chen, and offers comfort and support.
What do you say to him to? Is it just the music, or are you saying anything as well?
I think it's just the music.
Yeah, let's have you roll comfort and support.
I think that this is my present, so I think this is with Earth.
Okay.
So 2d6 plus 2. This is going terribly well. That's 6.
That's a 6. So I think as you kind of go forward to try and like comfort your traveling companion, there is suddenly a rush of horses that kind of knocks and separates the two of you apart. They come out of nowhere, Master Falling Blossom. Please mark an element of your choice.
I will mark Earth.
Okay.
Because that just seems to me, we've had this scene where he's moving elegantly across the road playing his, and then wallop, he spins away. The flute clatters to the ground.
Master Falling Blossom, says the voice of Iron Lion on horseback. Why are you here? I did not know that you were coming.
And I look up at Iron Lion, who I know as Master Storm of Thorns. And I say, who knows why we are brought by our winds, brother? I have been brought by the east wind, as you will have been brought by the north. I am surprised to find you here, but I come as I always do. to
Yes,
offer.
yes, as you always do.
Come, brother, let us not argue.
Well, you are welcome as my brother in this household.
As I knew you would fulfill the rules of hospitality. If I can be of any assistance, you know that as a brother you may call upon me.
And he turns to one of the servants who's been trailing along and says, see to it that that Master Falling Blossom is brought and given a quiet and comfortable place to rest his weary bones.
Oh, thank you, brother. I find myself bruised. As a servant will help me up.
Yes. I'm going to cut away from that Chen Falling Blossom scene to Silver Sparrow. Were you invited to this wedding?
Yes, I was. Because of course, my uncle's family lives in this town and is of good repute. And so his family is invited. And then it was a chance for me to see my cousins and stuff. So of course, yes, I am part of that family group, if that makes any sense.
And I think as you are coming in, what is it you see that catches your larcenous eye?
Let's see here. I really do think, and this is the thing is that it's Perfect Jade, right? That's his name. Yeah, or Righteous Jade. I think it is Righteous Jade, and the thing is he's dressed in many lovely things, but the thing is that on his finger he has this ring that is, what do you say? It is beautifully made. It is clearly, to her eye, a promise ring from someone else, and she knows that it's not in the taste of dawning joy. Does that make any sense? And so she's like, oh yes.
You would like to get a hold of that and
I
find
would.
out what the origin is of that.
Yes.
And you are kind of moving through, being greeted by folks. Flawless Jewel, what are you doing? Are you preparing? Are you wandering the grounds? Are you mingling with folks when you catch sight of your friend Silver Sparrow?
Yeah, I think at the moment, Flawless Jewel is sort of mingling, probably on his way to kind of start rehearsals, but is kind of taking advantage of the opportunity to sample the hospitality first.
And what would you do? I mean, what were the words? How has Iron Voice Nan tried to maybe poison you a little against your friend? What did he say?
I think that he has spoken of how Silver Sparrow is a duplicitous and dishonorable member of the Wulin, hardly worthy of the honors that have been bestowed upon her, and generally a disgrace to her family.
And you're remembering that, and certainly your admonition from your grandfather. Now, here's the question: do you go and tell your grandfather that Silver Sparrow is here, or do you go and talk to Silver Sparrow, or do you do something else?
I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to go and speak with Silver Sparrow, or yeah. I think that's certainly my intent anyway. Put it that way.
Absolutely. So you approach Silver Sparrow out of the corner of your eye. You will see Flawless Jewel,
Ah,
your favorite actor.
it's true. And though that ring has drawn my eye, nothing draws my eye more than Flawless Jewel. And I stop and I turn and I try. Is he trying to be like fabulous? Or is he trying to be more subtle? Because you don't want to blow his cover if he's like, traveling through the crowd and trying not to be mobbed by all of his other fans.
I think possibly. I don't think that Flawless Jewel has necessarily been making a huge display at this point. Though he is he's dressed in long flowing red robes. He's got the very white face paint and sort of red around the eyes and lips. His hair is styled up, so he's cutting quite a sight. But I think at the point when kind of Silver Sparrow looks towards him, he will sweep towards Silver Sparrow and say, "Darling, Silver Sparrow, I was not expecting to see you here. How wonderful! How wonderful it is to see you once more."
Oh, it is. And she goes, "I don't want to be greedy, but are you by chance performing here?"
I am indeed. I've been asked to.
She actually grabs your arm. She goes, I'm so excited. You are a wonder.
You flatter me, Silver Sparrow, but it is, of course, an honor to perform for so lofty an engagement.
Yes, kind words. I'm just arrived, a little thirsty off the road. Should we find a place to sit and speak?
That would be a delight, of course. And I think he'll kind of glance around for a moment and say, "Yes, let us do so. We may not have such opportunity later during the festivities." So
Yes, and I think just the thing is, she looks around and you can see her eye the inn where we could have some nice wine, and then she sees a tea house and she's like, "Tea, perhaps then." And she sort of walks over there and that's sort of very confident that you will go along with her.
So do you follow then, Jewel?
sorry, I lost a little bit of that. I managed to pull my earphones out.
So do you follow her to the tea house?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you one question before I cut back to the others. Are you trying to be subtle so that word doesn't get back to your uncle?
I think so. Yeah, I think that at this point he probably is trying to be a bit more, circumspect.
Then that is a simple overcome to complete this task without a problem.
Perfect. Let's see. This sounds like it was probably going to be metal for control. And calculation. Yeah. Spoiler alert, that's not really
strength.
Yeah. That's a 6.
That is a 6. So I think as you
I
are,
did say that I was looking to see if he was trying to be subtle or not. So she is aware. So could I attempt to assist?
You could do a comfort and support, or you could burn a bond if you have a bond with them.
I do not have a bond with them.
Then that you're trying to support them in this
Yes.
being subtle.
So I will make a roll.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see here. I think at this moment I probably use fire. I turn and go, oh, he really was trying to keep it on the down low. And you'll see her eyes widen. I'm going to roll 2d6 and add 1 to whatever the result is. So that gives me a 9. So that makes a bond between the two of us, and
Yeah,
I immediately
so-
burn
yeah.
it to assist you.
Perfect. So I think on that 7 to 9, word isn't going to get back to your uncle. But I do think that Magistrate Sun, who's traveling through the crowd, will spot the two of you together. Does that seem like a fair kind of complication?
That sounds good.
Like she's like, interesting, and moves on. They're like interesting, and they move on. So we'll come back to the tea house in just a moment. Master Chen, or rather just Chen. No master, it's just Chen. Let me have you tell me what you do when you see this weird interaction between the father of the bride and your colleague, Master Falling Blossom. And of course, you know something about the father of the bride. You know that he's not good.
Mhm.
So what do you do?
In the moment, I just watch, and you see a kind of like knowing quirk of my mouth as the camera zooms in, and I think that that I will go and find Master Falling Blossom when he's not kind of around other people, because this is obviously Iron Lion's territory, and so I need to be circumspect about warning Master Falling Blossom, but I do want to warn him.
So Iron Lion will head on. The servant is moving Master Falling Blossom in. Let's have you, before we forget, you arrived in a new place. You have a move for that. Let's resolve that, and then we'll bring you and Master Falling Blossom together.
Yes. Do I choose what I roll with? Or...
Yeah. What do you want to roll this with? You might say, why wouldn't I always roll with my best stat? Because if you roll with that stat and things go terribly wrong, that's the stat I'm going to have you mark.
Also because this is me and my instinct is always to play to lose.
That is a good instinct.
I think I'm going to roll with water. Like awareness seems like a kind of good fit for that move. So that's a +1. And that is an 8.
That is an 8. So I think as you are going along there, I think there is a moment when one of the servants of the household, we'll just use Ashen Twilight since she's in there, who you met before, who knows you, calls out to you, Chen, jogs over to where you're at. She's a subordinate to Captain Feng.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, well, when did you arrive?
Only just now. Your captain has called me back.
Captain Feng called you. He certainly didn't tell any of us that you were coming.
And I just chuckle and say that that does not surprise me.
you may take a bond with Ashen Twilight. How do you think she feels about you? Is she a friend? Have you helped her? Is she in love with you? What do you think it is?
I think that she's a friend, but that she might have. She's not necessarily feeling kind of entirely well disposed towards me now, because I left without a word several years ago. She hasn't seen me since. She doesn't know why I left necessarily. It's kind of, I just disappeared, and now I'm back and speaking in riddles.
She says, I see you're heading with purpose, but you and I need to have a conversation. You owe me that, right?
And I look her in the eyes and say, yes, I suppose that I do. I've been wondering and avoiding my old life for maybe too long now.
She claps you on the back. Ominous. Well, we will have a conversation. We'll have wine. That'll make everything easier.
And I just spontaneously laugh, because it's been a long time since I've had such a thing as kind of an easy friendship, other than kind of road friendships. Kind of friendships on the road are different with travelers. They're not settled, and I'm missing that. And then I remember Captain Feng and why he's called me back. So my face darkens again after that moment of lightness.
She gives you a nod and heads off, clearly with that promise made. Master Falling Blossom, you by this point would realize that Chen is kind of trailing behind you. Do you want to wait and speak with him, or do you want to head off, investigate things here? What do you want?
I think this is a perfect opportunity to play into the fact that Earth is marked, so I am uncaring and disdainful and obsessive with what I'm actually thinking I ought to do, which is I say to the servant, take me to Perfect Cloud.
All right.
Yes, don't waffle, man. Take me.
And he will lead you through the house. We go through a courtyard where tables are being set up with food. We go through another place where clothing is being hemmed to go around. And I think we come to a place where a number of young men are speaking and drinking. They're extemporizing poetry and so on. There's a mixed group there, men and women, and Perfect Cloud is there, and seems to be like caught in the middle where he's trying to think of the right word to finish out this line, but he's not very good at that.
I know you were never good at finishing poems, always better at starting them, Cloud.
And like people will laugh at him, and he says, and it kind of turns and says, it's Mr. Fallen Blossom, right? Isn't it?
Oh, don't play hard to get, Cloud. You know who it is. And I'll playfully tap him around the shoulders with my flute. I have important news for you and a conversation we must have.
Let's do hearts and minds, because you've just embarrassed him in front of his friends, and now you're going to draw him off. And while you are his elder, you're also kind of a stranger. So
I think I am driven at the moment by an urge, a passionate urge to warn him that his sibling is in trouble. And so I will roll plus fire. So 2d6 plus 1. Egads, that becomes a 7.
That becomes a 7. I think I will have him do what you wish. Like he is worried that you're about to make an even bigger scene. And so I think that he will say yes, yes, venerable uncle. And he will turn to the group if you will excuse me. And he will follow you to another place here on the grounds, private.
Yes. I am concerned for you because I am concerned that your family is at risk of great, danger almost. Certainly a dishonorable outcome.
What are you talking about?
The east wind has spoken to me again. And they have told me that one of your siblings, I cannot tell you which one of your siblings is, how can I put this? A thief.
That is a heavy accusation you make, Master.
No, Cloud, do not please shoot the messenger. I simply bring you news from the wind. And when has the east wind? You know this. You were my student. You know the wind has never played me wrong.
I know that you believe the wind has never played you wrong.
Oh, come, friend. Do you know of the criminal shadowed chime?
I am familiar with the name, yes.
I have to warn you that the wind tells me that Shadow Chime is a sibling of yours. I suppose I could be mistaken. It could be a different relation, but certainly a member of your family, for goodness sake. Think of the disrespect that could draw upon you all.
I cannot believe that any member of my family would be a thief. I would be more given to think that some of the people that you travel with might be.
Oh, in a conflict.
Okay.
My friend disbelieves my honest advice.
Absolutely.
I think I'm still in that slightly impetuous, passionate state. So I'm going to roll with fire again.
Okay.
That's a 7.
That is a 7. So do you want to mark an element, or do you want to fall back away from this scene?
I think I have to step away from him and say, no, I say nothing. I say, later, and march away.
You're always a strange old man. Let's come back to Silver Sparrow and Jewel. Let's have a little conversation there, and then maybe we'll try and swing one or both of the other characters over into that scene. How does that sound? Silver Sparrow, tell me something about this tea house. Like, what have they done to make this the tea house that everybody has to go to during this big festivities and things?
Well, I mean, classically, this tea house is the one that has the most wonderful almond tofu jelly, the almond jelly.
Mm-hmm.
And they have gotten in a set of, what do you say, of berries, preserved berries from the things that are the most auspicious for the wedding. So of all of the places in town, this is the one that has, like, if you're here for the wedding, this is the most auspicious, delight to have and to treat others to.
And you two are beautiful. You are gorgeous, beautiful, handsome, everything. So the second you come in, everyone is looking at you, and the waiter will come and will take you to a private room, there's the little like bead curtain separating you, but you have your own space to kind of talk in privately. Great. Just, and also a place where people can see you,
Mm,
but they can't hear you, but you can be seen.
excellent.
So you're settled in, tea is brought, the jelly and other things are brought. And when we come in, what are you saying, Jewel?
Of course, the ending of the play is a bit tragic and all that, but still, it is at the heart of it very romantic and well, perhaps if we bring our own touch of tragedy to the wedding, as it were, the wedding itself will be all that much sweeter in comparison.
So what is it that brings the tragedy? I mean, is it a family situation, or is it, the nature of the bride and the groom themselves?
Well, without getting too much into it, there's all this business with disguises. Of course, one can't have a good tragedy without a few disguises in their mistaken identities, family rivalries, all the usual.
Ooh. So people sneaking around to see their lovers and all of that sort of thing, right?
Exactly.
You are always so good at that, because even when you change those costumes, it's so clear that through line of the character that you're doing, which character is in disguise. It's the first thing I noticed about your plays. She's like totally fangirling and ordering you all sorts of sweets.
Tell me, Silver Sparrow, what brings you here? Are you acquainted with the families at all? I know, of course, with the world you inhabit, everyone knows everyone else to some extent, but
Well, certainly, Magistrate's son and Dawn and Joy are well known throughout the provinces, and she sort of stops and says, "I've heard of Perfect Jade." And she sort of stops. She goes, "But really, I'm here to see family, and it just so happens that they're going to the wedding, so I shall be too."
How fortunate.
It's been a long time since I've seen my cousins. Almost 4 years. She goes, "I'm taller now." She's
Quite so.
They won't recognize me. I just know it. And she sort of leans in and she goes, so what else will you be doing, like, while you're here? I mean, you have time, right?
Of course, I shall. Once we've performed, I hope to have a little time to enjoy the sights of the city. It's been some time since I've been here last.
Well, I know that there are at least 3 or 4 other parties before the actual ceremony. If you're interested and free for any of those times, I would happily accompany you there.
Of course, that would be a delight. Thank you, Silver Sparrow.
He's very pleased.
Yeah, I think you have a delightful tea. None of you are particularly trying to read the other person. It doesn't feel like you're just companionably discussing with one another, right?
Certainly, I'm not trying to read him because, of course, he's an excellent actor and he's certainly only here for that. So I'm just very excited.
Then let's swing Master Chen into this. Master Chen, is it? Sorry, I'm going to keep doing Master because we've got Master following Blossom. Chen, did you see them go in? Do you hear their voices as you're going past? Or is it just that you wanted some tea to clear your head?
Yes, I think I I started setting off after Master Falling Blossom, but like he was heading straight for well, whoever he was heading to, I don't know, but
Yeah.
and I kind of huffed and kind of muttered to myself, "Oh, incorrigible old man," and looked around for kind of like some refreshments instead, and kind of I'm sitting at a small table on my own in this tea house.
Well, you've now come in. Probably a little bit of the look at you. You're a little more road worn than the clientele that they particularly want. And I think there comes a point at which you do hear and realize that people that you know, Silver Sparrow and Flawless Jewel, are downstairs and having a lovely conversation. Would you approach them? Would you make yourself known? Or would you wait for something to happen?
I think I do neither. I think that my instinct over the past several years kicks in, and I try to leave without being noticed. But in order to leave, I have to go right past their table. I don't know what move that would.
Well, let's have you. I mean, it's up to you. We can make a move, or you can say that they spot you. I'm good either way.
Well, let's just say they spot me. More fun.
Then I think Silver Sparrow and Flawless Jewel, that you will see Chen, who you both are acquainted with, moving through in that way that says that he's trying to like maybe sneak out without being seen.
Oh, can I let that happen? I think she leans out. She goes, "Now he may be trying to avoid me, but I owe him." And she sort of looks at Flawless Jewel and she gives him a wink and she goes, "Chen, Chen."
Caught.
And I wheel around and I lose my composure somewhat, and with my staff I accidentally knock someone else's tea set onto the floor that they're drinking from.
Oh no.
And I think that's the moment that like you've knocked these two brothers that are seated there. You've knocked their tea set over. They're dressed very well. That sort of highly placed Wulin family, and it is spilled on one of them, and they both stand up, and the chairs go back.
Oh, I think I'm
And
like,
they
"That's my
turn
fault."
to Master Chen.
She goes, "I startled him. I apologize." And she says, "Please, please, I will take care of this."
He says, the apology is not yours. The apology is this one's.
And I think that I do say a kind of respectful or appropriate apology, like my most humble apologies. It was not my intent, but I can't help. After being on the road for a long time, I can't help keeping a note of amusement about my voice, that someone would be so aggrieved by such a minor inconvenience.
I don't care for your tone, dog. Your apology rings hollow.
And I as he says, I don't care for your tone. I say, well, in that case, I shall be on my way and not disturb you further.
And I think there's that moment where you go to make that step and like the blade is out and extended to block your path. And I think I want to bring Master Falling Blossom in here because this is a perfect opportunity for one of his moves here. Just dramatically, it'd be a great opportunity. So tell us what that looks like. Like, what do we see on screen? Is this like with attention, the musical cue has gotten quiet. We see Silver Sparrow preparing herself. Flawless Jewel. What's the look on Flawless Jewel's face when this is going on? Well, it's clearly going to be a big fight breaking out here.
Oh, I think Flawless Jewel is absolutely sitting back against some of the cushions in the alcove, sipping tea and watching because this looks like it's going to get fun.
Master Falling Blossom, you hear the noise, you come in, you've heard the crash, you see these two figures. One of them has their blade out, barring Chen's path. It looks like a fight is about to break out. What do we see you do?
My blind eyes survey the scene, and I cock an ear, draw my flute to my lips, and blow that single note that is intended to calm all and just draw people's attention to me.
And
then I roll master.
Yep.
I think that this is, I think I'm pitching at control and reflection. So I will roll +0 with metal. Oh, that is 10 + 0. So on a 10 plus, you cool tempers. And I say, friends. And suddenly Chen is not the worst dressed person in the tea house. Friends. Surely the peace of the tea house transcends all possible insult. As the great teachers say, those of us that drink tea together will be friends together.
Gentleman slides his sword back into his sheath. His brother's kind of put a hand on his shoulder and he says, "Thank you, Uncle." And he will turn to you, Chen, and he will say, "I apologize for overreacting."
As I apologize for the uncouthness of my previous apology, forgive me, I have been long on the road and am unused to these environments, and I very carefully, which you never see me do normally, but I very carefully place my staff by the wall where kind of traveling kind of accoutrements are kept, and offer to buy tea for kind of everyone involved in this altercation.
They will thank you, but depart. They've embarrassed themselves. They've realized that, but they will bow to you, to Master Falling Blossom, to Silver Sparrow, and Flawless Jewel, who's they just disrupted, and they will move off. And suddenly it is the four of you together.
And I think Blossom will look towards Chen and say, help an old blind man, Chen. Who are you sharing tea with?
And I will laugh slightly and be like, that act won't work with us. This is, as you well know, Silver Sparrow and Flawless Jewel, who who we are, like, and yeah, everyone knows everyone here.
Well, I'm not sure I do. I think, I thought I heard the flawless tones of a flawless duel. But Lady Sparrow, I have heard much of you, but I do not believe we have ever met. Or is that not true?
And she does bow to you and says, "We have not, sir." And she kind of stops to wait for your, did she say Master? You said Master Falling Blossom. She goes, "But I have heard your name. Please, won't you come and sit and have some tea with us?"
This is the reason the wind has brought me this way. I was destined to meet with you, Lady Silver Sparrow.
"Oh, yes, the tea will be excellent here. Come on."
And so the four of you can sit down here, have a chance to exchange words. Master Blossom, you're the one with the most singular purpose of anyone here of the four regarding the others. So let's start with what you were saying, and then let's kind of go around.
My dear Flawless Jewel, it is such a pleasure to be in the same town as you again. But I understood that you would be traveling elsewhere. Jewel?
Sorry, that was I misheard that. Yeah, indeed.
I discussed your itinerary with Iron Voice Yearn, and he assured me that you would be far from here.
Well, I do have rehearsals shortly, but I thought I would take a moment to prepare myself first. With he gestures at Silver Sparrow with my good friend Silver Sparrow here. But a pleasure, of course, to see yourself again, Master Falling Blossom.
And always a pleasure to hear your voice. But I am disturbed that you have come anywhere near this town.
Well, we have been commissioned especially for a performance at this wedding. So yes, it is outside of the usual tour schedule, but
the wind has betrayed me. I expected to meet the Lady Sparrow, but not you. And Chen, I bumped into everywhere.
And she says, "Well, I am honored that you expected to meet with me." And she goes, "Why would it not be good that Flawless Jewel is here? It seems just right that there should be a fabulous performance to celebrate the wedding."
I think that Silver Sparrow has just challenged me to reveal my feelings for Flawless Jewel. So I'd like to roll with. Oh, can I keep a grip on this? I think we're back to metal. I think to try and restrain any sign of what passion I may hold. So plus 0. Oh my goodness. That is a 2.
That is a 2.
So I will mark metal.
Mark metal.
So I can stay in the scene. But I have a move that says when I mark an element as a result of in a conflict, I may immediately create a bond with someone as you reflect on the lesson they inadvertently or deliberately taught me. I would like to increase my bond with Silver Sparrow to 2 on the grounds that she has taught me that I must be more careful about how I express myself.
And I'm going to take.
I go quiet.
Yeah, you go quiet. I'm going to take that hard move. I'm going to set that over here for just a sec. Okay, putting that on the shelf right over here. But you go suddenly quiet in this conversation. Silver Sparrow, let's come to you, and then we'll kind of loop around to Chen and Flawless Jewel.
Yeah, and I think she sort of stops when he goes quiet, and she goes, "No, clearly she has to cover over for the silence because she's a good hostess, right?" So she turns and she goes, "Chen, I did not expect to see you here, but it is, and she goes, I am always grateful to see you. And she's kind of like, she looks at you very like carefully, like, as in, we will not speak of the circumstances.
And I say, it is good to be here among such gracious company, as you will have seen from my my display earlier. I am unused to this, and it is pleasant to take a moment of respite in a tea house such as this.
I'm so sorry that I startled you. And she goes, but I did not know if you had met Flawless Joel, and I wanted you to have the opportunity to do that. And she will make sure that you have had proper introductions if you have not met.
I think I'll say that that I have. I think I'll say that I've seen some of Flawless Jewel's performances, and kind of like name about 3 or 4 kind of widely separated towns that it would be kind of it's clear that I have an unusual traveling itinerary if I'm going between these particular towns in this particular order, and different seasons and such like. So I'll kind of, but we have never been introduced. I know you. I know you only from the stage, but that is recommendation enough.
Kind of you to say it is. And many would argue that you always see somebody's best side when they're under the stage lights, as it were. But you certainly are well travelled. It is the perhaps a marker of actors and Shah alike that we end up traveling down many roads in our lives.
I think the silence kind of falls over the table here for a moment, and I think you will see someone bearing the marker of the sort of wedding household come in and speaks to a couple people, and then looks around and comes over to the table where the 4 of you are at and says, Mr. Silver Sparrow?
Yes.
And looks, kind of clearly been given some names, says, and gestures and says, I've been sent out to the neighboring houses and so on to draw in the guests for the feast, as it is getting on twilight. If you would come with me, I will get you settled in. There are many guests, so it is good that we get you all placed.
Yes. And she will pull all of them along with her, so that of course they get to all go to the feast.
And you're brought in huge, double courtyards, long tables. There's certainly the big high table and gathering at the with all of the most wealthy and so on. And you can sense Iron Lion's presence there, Master Falling Blossom, and you will see there Righteous Jade and Dawning Joy seated, chatting companionably with one another. Yu Chen will definitely catch the eye of Captain Feng, who will look over at you and kind of nods. Your cousin sees you speaking with Master Falling Blossom, kind of shakes his head. Silver Sparrow, And Magistrate's son is there kind of wandering the periphery. And I think it's a gorgeous meal. Beautiful food, drink, wine, all of that kind of thing, as night kind of falls on the household here. You all will be given rooms, places to stay here on the grounds of the estate, and you've been told where to go to. And after a few hours of eating, there is that thing where certain groups start kind of wandering away, wandering off to either drink more or go somewhere else, or go and watch the fountains on the lake, or so on. So, Master Falling Blossom, I have a question for you. What is the thing, what is the moment, what is the indicator for you that tells you that you've been poisoned?
I think there is that the wind changes direction. The lanterns which are illuminating the courtyard, these paper lanterns, begin to blow in as if blown by a north wind, perchance. And the world seems to go into monochrome. And I think perhaps I have been preoccupied with the meal with every time that Flawless Jewel's gaze has drifted towards Magistrate Son, I have managed to try and draw their attention back. But I can see them beginning to look over to me, and I don't feel I have the wherewithal to intervene.
Yeah, you feel very unbalanced, uncoordinated right now. You have noticed this. Then, my actor friend, you're used to reading people's body language and posture and so on, and certainly you've seen Master Falling Blossom maybe being a little interfering here. But then you see he begins to seem unwell. What would you do or say, Falling Jewel? Is this an opportunity, or is this not a good thing?
I think that I'll sidle up to a Master Falling Blossom and say, Master, are you quite well? You seem a little out of sorts. I hope was perhaps the wine a trifle stronger than you expected?
I believe, my dear Jewel, that I may have been poisoned.
Poisoned?
I assume that comes out a little louder than you intended it to.
Indeed, I feel very, very odd. And I will fall dramatically into Jewel's arms.
I think that I will actually rush over to my cousin to find out who the physiker is here.
And even as you're doing that, you'll see a physician conveniently come running over. You go to your cousin, and he's like, what is wrong with Master Awesome?
He's been poisoned.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if it should get around, or maybe it should. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, she should go and get a doctor.
Well, isn't that a doctor that's gone over to him?
And he kind of looks and says, oh, thank goodness. How convenient.
But perhaps another one.
And
Is a convenient doctor the best doctor? I don't know.
Chen, you've now kind of caught on that this is happening, and what do you do?
I think I I see this doctor running over, and I'm willing to. I'm going to say that I recognize this doctor as Iron Lion's personal
That is
physician.
a study roll. Here's what it is. This is you. We're gonna actually get a roll for this here.
So I think this is with water for awareness.
Okay.
And so 2d6 plus 1. That is a 10.
It's a 10. So you have 2 hold. And you can use that hold to ask a question about the situation, ask a question about a person, or declare something.
So with one of my hold, I am declaring that this is Iron Lion's physician, and I know that rather than rushing to help, he is responsible for this poisoning and will be rushing to ensure no one interferes.
Absolutely. He's like, move away from Master Falling Blossom. Please, allow me to attend to him.
And I, as if I have been there all along, and I'm using have sword will travel.
Okay.
I move my staff a fraction of an inch outwards and trip. I'm attempting to trip this doctor.
Oh yeah. I think that's easily enough done. He is not a wuxia. I think as he rushes over to administer help to Master Falling Blossom, he is tripped by just an imperceptible move of your staff.
Mm-hmm.
You still have one more hold. Do you want to ask a question or do you want to make a declaration?
I think I ask a question.
Sure.
Which is, do I know, or do I know how to determine what poison has been used and how to help Master Falling Blossom?
So your question is, what poison has been used and how can I help? And I think it is, you realize, given his sort of symptoms, this is more something to render him weak and helpless, with perhaps the goal of humiliating him in some way or embarrassing him in some way later. And it is a simple application of pressure to certain chi points to have him expel this. It is not a potent poison, but it will require a roll to do that without any cost.
I think that, yes, I feel, I'm already feeling bad that I failed to warn. I got frustrated with Master Falling Blossom and failed to warn him entirely of this plot. So I think I do go and help.
Then let's have you roll overcome, and then I'm going to come back to Flawless Jewel.
So I'm rolling that with metal, I think.
Sure.
And so that's +0. That is a 9.
That is a 9. So this is going to, with a 9, the cost is going to be that Master Falling Blossom will kind of very visibly cough up onto the table there. I see Sherry frowning.
Icky. So I will have pulled my cousin over, and there's that thing of, she has enough training that when she sees Chen go to do that, She knows what he's doing, and she also sees like that he's just a little bit off. And I think that she would be like, "Are you okay?" And she would sort of just pull Master Falling Blossom just a little bit more into position. Is my hope, if I can succeed on this.
Do you want to spend your bond with Chen?
Yeah, that seems like a fine use of that.
Okay. Then there's the strike, and suddenly the fuzziness in your brain, because it's movie poison, the fuzziness in your brain just goes away, Master Falling Blossom, and Falling Jewel, Flawless Jewel, you see Master Blossom coming to, still in your arms at this point.
Well, thank you for your swift intervention, Chen. Are you quite all right, Master Falling Blossom?
And Blossom will reach up a hand to Jewel's cheek and say, "I do believe you have saved my life."
I think Chen here has far more hand in that than I. I am, I confess, a poor physician.
Such modesty. Because I think my love is becoming requited.
Excellent. I think
that might even trigger an inner conflict.
I think that would.
Dearie me. Okay, I must mark XP for all these inner conflicts.
Yes.
I am going to go with suppressed passion +1. That is a 5. I am so on a roll. I will mark fire and gain a bond with Flawless Jewel.
Absolutely.
And you can store up another poison plot.
I think what happens before you, the four of you kind of have a chance to talk. I think that there are people coming over, and there's that crowd of people, and Master Falling Blossom. There's some servants who pick you up to take you to your room. Chen, you feel a hand on your arm kind of draw you away, and you look and you see Captain Feng, like, we need to go talk. And for you, Flawless Jewel, you hear the of your grandfather behind you. And before you can discuss this plot or plan anything or make any preparations, you're all drawn in different directions. Let's actually take 5 here, and then we'll kind of do a once around with these sort of individual scenes of talking with NPCs and so on. Sound good?
Yeah, I just want to say that my bond now, the relationship with Flawless Jewel, is they have taught me that their affection for me must not be public.
Oh, and to remind you on one thing before we get to it, so to clear elements outside of, say, a scene or combat situation, you just kind of have to narrate what you're doing in a downtime to recover yourself. So we'll have a chance to do that. But let's take 5 and then we'll come back. So let us start with Flawless Jewel. In the midst of this tumult and so on, and people being drawn in different directions here, as we've gotten to this, the sort of the end of the party evening, there is that bit where you are drawn away into the dark by your grandfather. Where have you been?
I was somewhat longer in town than I intended, grandfather. Apologies for that.
I saw that you were dining alongside Silver Sparrow.
Yes, I was. She invited me here, and it seemed rude to turn down the invitation.
It is not rude to turn down an invitation of a villain.
Come now, grandfather. Silver Sparrow hardly seems the villainous sort.
You are naive in these things, but you also don't listen when I give you advice.
I wouldn't say I never listen, grandfather.
There is a task I have for you. It is, consider it a trial of your theatrical skill.
Very well.
And he reaches in his pocket and he draws out a pouch and he hands it to you. He says, I need you to quietly and with some discretion place this in Silver Sparrow's room this evening.
I am sure I can manage that, grandfather.
Excellent. He seems relieved that you don't question him. Good, good. There will be a performance tomorrow. Make sure you are ready, not tired. Must present yourself as flawlessly as ever.
Of course, grandfather.
See him kind of look at you. He's clearly trying to assess your mood. What are you trying to present to him? What do you want him to read when he kind of looks and is staring and trying to read you?
I think that he's trying to portray himself as being at least a little contrite, and that he does intend to follow through on what he said he will.
He will nod to you. Good. We will speak again later.
Of course.
Chen, you are drawn into a private room with Feng and sits you down, hasn't said anything, but sits you down, pulls out wine, pours 2 bowls, takes a drink himself, and he says, you are on time as always.
Sorry, I blanked there a second.
No.
I don't think I say anything. I think I just nod and take a sip of my wine.
I believe that righteous Jade is in great danger.
This was not the conversation I was expecting to have with you. Tell me.
I believe that there is a plot afoot. I believe that this marriage is a sham. And I believe that righteous Jade is to be targeted, to be killed. I think it will happen on his wedding night, so we must stop this. No one will believe me, but you and I know that we must do what is right for righteous Jade, even if that means dispatching his bride.
Forgive my caution. I of course take a threat to, and I think I use some kind of name for righteous Jade that will kind of make it clear that, like, there's an affectionate name rather than a formal name. I think take a threat to Jade. Of course, take a threat to Jade extremely seriously, but knowing our history, I must ask you to prove that this is not merely a this is not a move by yourself to further and perhaps permanently discredit my name. If I am to act in this, if I am to act to help you in this.
Certainly seem to be more cautious in asking questions than you were when you left my cousin dead on the floor.
And I think I look down at the floor and say, that was never ever my intent. It was my own lack of skill, and as you know, I am in your debt. I will be atoning for that recklessness for the rest of my life, and this caution is hard learned because of that.
You say you are in my debt, and then you question me.
I have already seen one poisoning tonight. It has put me, forgive me if it has put me in a suspicious state of mind.
Go. I will take care of this myself.
And I think I want to do something. I think I want to. Is there something I can do to convince Feng that I actually want to help Jade?
Sure, let's have you roll hearts and minds.
Uh-huh.
What do you want to roll that with?
I think I want to. I want to roll this with metal because I think this is calculation. This is not quite trusting, but not quite distrusting.
Sure.
So that is a 5. That does not go well.
That is a 5. He like leans over, reaches out, claps onto your shoulder, like leans in hard, gets close to you, and he says, "You will do what you have to do, and I will do what I have to do." And then kind of stands up to show you the door.
And I think I leave because I don't have much option at this point, but I'm going to be, I think you see my eyes kind of rest on his back as he walks away. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on him.
And go ahead and mark metal. And I think the camera, as he moves away, I think we see that he has a piece of your clothing, a piece of sash that he has taken from you as he gripped you, that he is very clearly going to plant on a body. Let us come to Master Falling Blossom. A convenient points of cloth, yes. You are kind of taken to a room, and servants bring you to your room, and you sense that there is someone in there.
Now, at the moment, I am scared, scattered, and obsessive because of what I've marked. And so I am conscious somebody's here, but I cannot focus. I cannot. Who is there? This is the first time we see Blossom, I think, genuinely vulnerable, like a blind man.
And you hear that steady, clear, calm voice of Magistrate's son. It is I, Master Blossom.
And I'm holding the flute out as though trying to work out where the furniture is and where he is. And I'm not quite certain I can focus on what do you want of me?
They come over and gently they touch your arm and they say, there is a cushion here. There's a cushion here, Master Blossom. It seems to me that you have been through much today.
It has been a most uncomfortable time.
I don't believe I've ever seen you so shaken.
I am doubting whether I am where I should be.
Did the wind not bring you here? That is what you always say.
I have always trusted the wind, and now I find that perhaps the wind has betrayed me. I do not know. I am. This is most distressing.
You must gather yourself together if you were to be successful in whatever you intend here.
I am no longer certain what I do intend here. What do you want?
You and I are colleagues of a sort. I solve problems. You solve them in a slightly different way. We have crossed paths before, and I saw that you were discommoded at dinner.
I was not discommoded. I was poisoned.
Yes, I heard the word poison. And who do you think poisoned you?
I can only suppose that it is that villain, the shadowed chime. For I believe
and
I know.
their spine kind of gets a little bit straighter. And what draws you to that conclusion?
Because I believe that the wind gifted me a view of who they were.
And you got too close?
I don't know.
Who is the shadowed chime?
I don't know. Exactly.
You just said.
I do not know exactly.
To tell me your approximate knowledge.
I suspect that they are a sibling of Perfect Cloud, but he denied that possibility. And that did make me think that perhaps a more distant relative. But I don't know his family.
You were seated with his cousin.
Was I? Flawless Jewel.
Silver Sparrow is Perfect Cloud's cousin.
Ain't a conflict.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I think that curiosity is at -1 with wood. Can I in any way suppress this possibility?
You have plenty of bonds to help you in this. So let's see.
Exactly. So that is a 6 -1 is 5.
Okay.
I am going to burn both bonds with Silver Sparrow because she is destined to be my student. She cannot be Shadowed Chime. Don't give this is madness. Which
So
will turn my 5 into a 7.
Do you wish to mark that element, or do you wish to flee, or the flip is to tell them to leave, like to
Yes.
tell them
Get out. I need time.
you need allies. You've driven me away. I suspect you will regret that in the future. Shoof, door shuts. Oh, Silver Sparrow. Oh, it's a big courtyard. There are lots of people, like jewels and treasures everywhere.
Nothing so important as figuring out what's going on in this marriage so that I can give my, I wouldn't call her friend, my rival, Dawning Joy, an out.
All right. How do you want to do that?
That is a good question. I go back and forth.
Are you changing into your Shadowed Chime identity to do this?
No, not necessary. In fact, actually easier to do as a sort of distant cousin of someone here, I think. I think that I actually may not take the awesome disguise ability, and in fact, take the other awesome one, which is Tracing Shadow.
Okay.
And so let's see here.
Do you want to start with a study move?
Yes, I want to start with a study move. Particularly, I mean, I am assuming that within my family, there's some discussion of why this marriage. So with that in mind, I will put an eye and try to figure out what's going on with why and just the extent to which this is forced, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Let's have you roll study.
Okay, excellent.
Because you always roll study so well in
I
Hearts of
know,
Wulin.
I know. I thank you for reminding me that so that my dice can spring back to their usual behavior. Instead of giving me middling successes, it will give me an utter fail. So I think that I will use probably, I guess I'll try Earth because I'm trying to, no, is that? No, I have to get this done quickly. So
Okay.
I'm going to use fire.
All right.
This is important. I don't know why it's so important, but it's extra important. So 6 + 1 is a 7.
So you have one hold. What do you want to ask, or what do you want to declare?
Oh. Who doesn't want this marriage to go through?
Iron Lion does not want this marriage to go through. This is an old arranged obligation. And while Righteous Jade is a fine match, he has another pawn, another person that he would prefer to have his daughter married to. And he may go to extreme lengths to make sure that this wedding never happens. Does that seem like a fair answer?
It's a horrible answer, Lowell. Thank
There you
you. You may need to go on to someone else while I figure out exactly how Silver Sparrow deals with that information.
Absolutely. Let us come back to Flawless Jewel. What are you doing?
Yeah, so I think Flawless Jewel is going to look inside this pouch once outside his grandfather's sight.
Inside is a brilliant jeweled piece of jade. Looks like a real treasure, someone's treasure.
That seems fair enough then. As long as it's nothing dangerous.
No, certainly not something that was stolen to be planted on her. No.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that I will. That being the case, I will attempt to sneak into Silver Sparrow's chambers to place it there. I think, however, especially considering my grandfather just mentioned about it being a test of my theatrical skills, I shall go in disguise so as not to be noticed.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the most apt disguise, should I be caught, or should I be spotted, would of course be the infamous thief, Shadowed Chime.
I think that's perfect. Let us have you roll overcome to do this quietly and without being spotted.
Excellent. So I think this is probably going to be I think, yeah, Earth sounds good for this course. Caution, focus, and presence. So yeah, I think that sounds like a good fit for this. And I think there'll be that moment of as done the disguise of kind of centering myself and getting into the role, and let's see how this goes. That's a 7.
That is a 7. So I think that you will be able to sneak in disguise, place this item. And I think there is that moment when you're like, I did this. I'm a skilled actor. When you are just getting ready to leave and you hear a little distance away, halt. And you hear Magistrate's son, like clearly she's a little ways away, but she's seen somebody come out. She's seen them in darkened clothing, and she's shouting for you to stop. What do you do?
I think the only thing I can do is attempt to flee into the night.
All right, then we'll come back to that as suddenly you are rushing across the courtyard here with your object of your affection, Magistrate's son, chasing you. And oh my God, if she catches you dressed like this, that's going to be bad. Can I have you roll inner conflict before we move on?
Yeah, I think I'm going to. I think it's probably going to be Earth again, actually.
Sure.
That, however, is a 5.
Then I think that you mark your earth, and I think you are running absolutely the wrong direction that you should be, and we'll figure out what that's going to be when we come back to you. Chen, this has been a kind of upsetting moment that you've had. We've got a couple of options. Do you want to take the moment to kind of narrate how you would clear your mind if you want to clear an element, and then we can roll on to what you want to do, or is your character driven enough that they need to move forward right away?
I was actually thinking that it seems like everything and everyone is arrayed against Chen at the moment, and he doesn't know where to turn and who his friends are. He doesn't know whether his love is in danger, or his the person who holds the debt on him is seeking to frame him, and he's worried about his friend. I know that some of the mechanics don't make as much sense at the beginning of the scene, but I feel like I want to roll in a conflict, like just straight off.
Absolutely. Let's mark XP, and let's have you roll.
I think I am. I think I'm rolling with. I think I'm rolling with water here.
Okay.
Because I presume you can roll with the negative side of it as well. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
This uncertainty. So water is +1. That's an 8.
That is an 8. So I'll give you 2 choices here then. You can mark your water, or you can flee to find Righteous Jade. Like, you have to go to him to get an answer.
Yeah.
In the most foolish, kind of dangerous way.
That is what I am doing. I am possibly quite publicly grabbing the groom aside on his pre-wedding night.
I think we will see you running, because he and his entourage are staying on that festival a boat that they traveled in out there. So we have to see you kind of very publicly run and rush up to that vessel. Does that seem like a good place to put you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Could I insert a montage here?
Absolutely.
I think that the screen quarters, close up of Silver Sparrow looking shocked and perplexed and uncertain what to do next. Shot of Flawless Jewel trying to escape into the night. Shot of Chen deciding they must act. And in the remaining quarter is Falling Blossom sitting on the roof next to a wind, what are they called? Things that show
weather vane.
Weather vane, thank you. In the shape of a tree.
Nice.
And he is there. He is genuinely frightened. He is uncertain. He doesn't know what's going on, and he's focusing on this weather vane as it spins uncontrollably around and around and around and around. It points towards where Chen is running. It points to where Sparrow is standing. It points towards where Jewel is heading. And then takes a deep breath, and it settles as the east wind becomes the most dominant. And I would like to clear Earth.
Absolutely. It is pointing eastwards to the lake, to that boat.
Aha! Please cut away to somewhere else.
Silver Sparrow.
Yeah, I think that before I do anything tricky, she's going to turn to her cousin, return, and essentially get a set of introductions so that she can speak to the bride, essentially to meet the bride and give her good wishes, so that she can essentially read her, so that she can know how to protect what's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think he can prepare those for you. Let's cut to that scene.
Okay, where I get the chance to speak to her.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think that in some ways we've met in passing, but never been introduced. And so, essentially I will be like, I think that we have passed each other before, but we have never had a chance to talk. On this evening before your nuptials, I wanted the chance to congratulate you.
I am well acquainted with you.
And she goes,
I take it that Master Falling Blossom has taken you under his wing then?
she looked sincerely confused. And I said, I did meet him for a tea today, but he seemed very taken with Flawless Jewel.
Her brow darkens. She seems more irritated. What is it you want?
And she sort of stops and she goes, I really wish to convey my best wishes. And she goes, I am sorry, and she goes, I do not understand why you are. She goes,
why I am perhaps, I asked Master Falling Blossom to take me on as a student.
why would he refuse you?
Because he said that you were to be his student and that I was not good enough.
And she sort of stops and says, but I've only heard excellent things about your skill.
Was there something you needed?
And she sort of stops and she goes, no, is there something that you need?
No.
And she goes, the groom is very handsome.
Are you trying
I'm
to?
going to read her interactions. Yes.
Absolutely. Let's have her. You roll.
I mean, I know she hates me now.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was easy to pick up though.
Yeah, that was easy. Yeah, so I just won't even look there. Okay, so I'm going to roll the interactions thing, which is an awesome skill. So sorry. So I'm rolling, and I'm probably going to go with Earth on this. So 2d6,
Okay.
and I'm adding 1. So that's a 9. No, that's a 9. Yeah, that is a 9.
You have one question. One hold.
Does she want to marry
Righteous Jade?
Righteous Jade?
Yes, because she believes it will get her out from under her father's thumb.
This has been a particularly sad conversation. And she goes, well, and she sort of bows and she goes, and stops again and goes, I suppose I will go and speak to Master Falling Blossom. And she kind of says that with a question.
Do what you want. You do like you like her, but she's so like this has created a whole wrinkle here. Just a real painful, oh, this must hurt a little bit, right?
It hurts a lot.
Could I have you roll inner conflict? And then I'm
Yes.
going to move to a hard frame here, something.
All right. I think that makes complete sense. So I am rolling and I am probably, this is with me and fire.
Okay.
I roll a 10.
Then you keep it together. You
That's
keep
right.
yourself from breaking. And I think we see you move out, like the cold east wind hits you as you go outside. And you're like, what? Just why? And then to your dismay, I think, you see Shadowed Chime being chased by Magistrate's son. And you see Shadowed Chime running and runs and rushes up the gangplank onto the bridal vessel or the groom's vessel. What do you do?
I think I step out into the light as Magistrate's son is running by, and I kind of watch like the run, and I'm like,
Chime, I will
Should I
have you
get help?
today. This will be the day.
and I say, should I get help?
Yes, get help.
All right.
I
I
have him
will.
trapped.
I don't know who it is though. Or
That's
do I
right.
know?
No.
Can I make a
I'd quite like Master Falling Blossom to appear at your shoulder and say, I knew it. Come, we must unveil this villain.
Does that work for you?
Certainly. I'm very curious to know who Summertime is.
Absolutely. So you two and Magistrate's son are rushing up to there. You falling Flawless Jewel have reached the deck just after our good friend Chen has reached there and has headed inside to look for someone to speak with. What is it that tips you off when you kind of get off that gangplank and hit that deck, Flawless Jewel? What is it about the people who are milling about on the deck that tells you that they are up to no good?
Yeah, I think they're all wearing, the livery of the groom's household, but like their outfits don't fit properly. They've all obviously been donned hurriedly, not all suited, not all sort of tailored to them. And there's probably the odd tear and the like in them. This definitely looks like someone's done the old knocking a few people unconscious and stealing their clothes type deal.
And you will see, as you kind of look over at the closest one, then pour this oil on the deck. But there are people coming and chasing you. What do you do?
I think that I'm going to sort of, but just try and sort of run like through this group of ne'er-do-wells in the hope that Magistrate's son, will deal with the in both ways, and that Magistrate's son will be able to take down these violets, and it will also distract them from me. That's certainly the intent anyway.
Let's have you and our now you got a couple choices here. These are troops, So if you wanted to, we could have you roll deal with troops if you're knocking them aside with your skill.
Yeah, I think that's probably the approach I'm taking.
Then roll with your style element. And then we're going to cut to Chen.
Oops, so that should be one more. So that's a 10 in total. I forgot to update the modifier.
So you rush through this group that are closest to you, and several of them go flying overboard with their oil, and you knock the others down, and you can rush either to the other side of the boat, or you can rush down below.
Yeah, so I think probably the way this looks is less kind of flying punch than like a more running across the deck. I kind of try and maybe I attempt some sort of elaborate flying kick at one of them, but my foot goes into the bucket of oil that they're daubing over the thing. I slide across, slam into another, kind of try and get the bucket off of my foot, which flies off and hits a third in the face. And then I'll sort of careen down the stairs, I think, further into the vessel.
Sure. Chen, driven, like blinded to everything else, running, rush to the boat, throw open the doors, head down in. And this is a great sort of festival bar down below. So it opens out into a great big open area with tables and things like that. And I think you'll hit the bottom of those stairs. And maybe at that point, a little bit of the haze will go away, because you'll see that there are bodies strewn about. There are tables knocked over. And you will see that there are a group of troops here who are kind of finishing things up. You'll see a pair of figures with black masks on. You'll see Iron Lion, and you will see Righteous Jade bound and tied. What do you do?
I slam my staff onto the deck, and I call out unhand Righteous Jade, you fiend. Take a step forwards.
And Iron Lion turns and says, well, this is unfortunate. And he gestures for the two brothers, and they begin to approach you. You see them draw out their blades. They move cross one another in coordinated fashion and close the distance to come at you.
I shake off my cloak, and I'm in a ready stance, which for me doesn't is almost imperceptible movement. I just look like I'm standing there leaning on my staff, but you can see that I'm prepared to fight. Okay,
so they are moving into position. I think that's the point at which there is a sound of stairs shattering, and we see come sliding into this room, bucket afoot. We see that still gorgeous. I mean, he's still gorgeous even in this role. But we see Flawless Jewel come sliding into here, and the room kind of erupts into chaos at that point. Even as that happens, let's get where Blossom and Sparrow are, and then we'll kind of bring everything in. You two will rush up the gangplanks. You see that Chime has knocked some of these crew people off, but there's another set of crew people that seem to be like dousing the boat with flammable oil, and Chime is rushed downstairs. Falling Blossom.
Where did he go? Or where did they go? Because I don't know what their gender is.
I think
Where did they go?
The magistrate looks, sees these people lighting things up, and shouts to you, "They're down below. I'll take care of the people on the deck."
Lady Sparrow, do be careful.
Oh, okay. I'm sticking with you.
You're muted again?
I am. And then, like the thoroughgoing gentleman he is, he will use this as an opportunity to test Sparrow and invite her to take the stairs first.
Oh, all right. And she will go, and she goes silently. That is one of the things that you will note. And sort of rushes forward.
Falling Blossom, are you trying to read, essentially pierce the mask on Silver Sparrow?
I think I'm trying to get a view of whether this young woman is actually as talented as I think she ought to be.
Silver Sparrow, are you trying to conceal or are you more interested in dealing with the situation?
She is very much wants to deal with the situation, because it would be terrible if Joyous Dawn's father was, how should we say, killed her bridegroom. That would be a terrible outcome.
Then, Master Falling Blossom, I think you see the silence. I think you see the stance. You see the movement, and you know that this is the person.
Lady Sparrow.
And she sort of, she's running down the hallway, but she sort of grabs the doorway and sort of stops and turns around and goes, "Yes."
You are the one.
All right.
And we have all four heroes on the scene. Great big, like it shouldn't be this big, but we've built the set this large, this interior sort of casino boat set with tables and things. It shouldn't be this big. We've got Iron Lion's troops around the outskirts. We've got these two brothers who are moving towards Chen. We've got Iron Lion himself. We have Righteous Jade on the ground. Everyone is in position. All of your friends are here, Chen. What do you do?
I shout I shout, to me, defend Righteous Jade, Iron Lion, Iron Lion means to kill his son-in-law.
A brother of the falling leaves.
Yes.
And I whip around and just say, it was him who poisoned you.
Oh, brother, where art thou gone?
So Chen, you shout that out. You gather your strength together, and kind of call to people, get things organized. So you've got yourself centered. Let's do the other people, and then we'll come back to you. Flawless Jewel, the call has been made for heroes. You're not really a hero, but
yeah, I think my first thing will be to try and go to Righteous Jade and attempt to help them out / help them out with the scene / defend them, something on those lines.
So you move to engage to get Righteous Jade to free him, save him, protect him. What are you doing, Silver Sparrow?
I think I actually rushed to. Wait, is it okay if I rush to Jade to undo the bonds, or was that what Flawless Jewel
That
was
is
doing?
what Flawless Jewel is doing.
Okay, sorry, I was like, I just read something for a second and missed that thing. So I think that she actually puts herself between Iron Lion and Perfect Jade.
Okay, and Falling Blossom, what are you doing?
I am torn between this peculiar awareness that I'm in the room with Shadow Chime and Flawless Jewel, but I think I can only confront Master Storm of Thorns, Iron Lion.
Okay, so you move up to engage him. Okay, Chen, you see that Blossom runs to engage Iron Lion. We've got these two swordsmen, we've got these troops, and we see Flawless Jewel has moved over to get in the way there. What do you do, Chen?
I'm trying to engage as many of these troops and these brothers as possible. I'm feinting and kind of trying to make as many people as possible think that they're under threat from me to keep as much attention as I can away from Righteous Jade.
All right, so here is a question I have for you. Are you more concerned about the troops or the brothers?
The brothers.
Okay, then you have to deal with them. They are coming in to attack. Now, when you duel someone who is above your scale, I need you to roll. Their scale is higher than yours right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Sherry, you were going to say something. Yes.
Yes. May I, because I've set myself in there, but I see Chen in that, can I make a move to sort of even those odds a little?
You want to engage one of the brothers?
Yes, I think so.
In that case, Chen, when she draws off one of the brothers, the other brother becomes on your scale rather than above your scale. And then we'll resolve you, Silver Sparrow.
All right.
So first, Chen, let's see you deal with this brother. Sword out, masked up. They're coming in.
I think at this point, I've been making jabs and feints, but I still kind of have, my staff is moving, but my feet and body are still perfectly still. And I roll 2. That is a 9.
That is a 9. So you can burn a bond to take it to a 10 plus, or you can choose one from the 7 to 9 list on the duel. There is, if your scale is the same as your foes.
Can I burn a bond with Righteous Jade?
100%.
That I'm defending.
To boost yourself, you can always burn a bond. So yeah, that friendship with him. Describe to me, this swordsman is fast, but he loses a step when his coordinated brother is drawn off, and he's coming in. What do we see? Like, he pushes you back at first, you're kind of fading back, and then what happens? How do you drop him?
I think I leave a deliberate opening. I leave it a little too late for me to move, and it looks like I'd be going to block his blade with my staff, but I'm actually sweeping his feet with the other end of my staff, and I think as I'm sweeping his feet, I kind of drop the staff to my elbows and grab the blade between my hands and twist it out of his hand.
Twist it, kind of send him flying, knock him down. Silver Sparrow, as the one brother falls, how do you deal with this other one? Again, blade fast, coming in, pressing in on you, cutting close.
Yeah, and I think you see she sort of like goes, and I mean, clearly she's Silver, Shadow Chime and Silver Sparrow are the same person. She goes, and she pulls her belt out, and it does this weird, like it stiffens as it like whips across the room, and it hits the swordsman's wrist, and essentially she pulls back, so we could see how this all
Let's see how it goes, because it could go
turns
terribly
out.
wrong.
It definitely could. So I am rolling with my with water. So I'm rolling 2d6 and I am adding 2. So it gives me a 10.
10. Like what is the finisher here when you draw him in suddenly off his feet?
I think that actually it's an unintended finisher. She's grabbed him and it's this edged thing, and when he falls, it actually like kind of goes across his neck. Like he falls across it and it like slices his neck, and it was, and she's like,
Flawless Jewel, these troops are coming in to try and get a hold of Righteous Jade. You can grab him up to cut his bonds, but you need to deal with these troops.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think, yeah, he, is trying to kind of both put himself between the troops and Righteous Jade, but also trying not to get stabbed because that doesn't look fun. So I think it's quite a chaotic defense. And let's see how. And that's an 11.
Oh yeah, tell me, you look awesome doing this, even though you kind of don't want to.
Yeah,
don't actually like what do we see on screen?
Yeah, so I think we sort of see he's trying to get these ropes untied from around Righteous Jade's wrists, but like the knot isn't coming off properly. He kind of lunges to the side as one of them comes in with a sort of blade, and it cuts straight through the center of the knot, freeing Righteous Jade's hands. He tries to lead Righteous Jade out. Righteous Jade is probably kind of a bit more interested in staying and getting stuck into the fighting, but it's almost like kind of a dance, as he's trying to pull him, and his kind of spins Righteous Jade around, and he punches one of them out, and it's this big chaotic whirling scene of trying to lead Righteous Jade out of there, but kind of dispatching the foes in with the byblows, as it were.
Bodies are hitting the floor, crashing into one another. Things are getting knocked over. You're dragging Righteous Jade past these fights and getting out. Iron Lion ignores all this. The saber, long wide saber with the rings on it. He's bigger than you, and he steps up and he says, "This is the season of the north wind."
Enough, brother. And I will roll to stop a conflict with an NPC.
Oh.
Using my physical presence, which is kind of a double bluff. So 2d6 plus 2. That is a 4. I had a plan for everything apart from from rolling 2.
Mark that element. as you step forward, because you want to save him, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to save him, and you step forward, and he slashes and he cuts your flute in two, shatters it, and sends you flying backwards.
And I lie there, completely stunned, looking up at him.
And he moves over to finish off Blossom. Chen, Sparrow, what do you do?
I think I go, too far, sir. You have gone too far. And I'm going to attack him like a little girl. Does that make any sense? I'm going to come in and I'm just going to go, no, and throw myself at him and drag, like essentially grab his leg. So I'm there to help someone else.
Lower his scale and help out. Chen, what do you do?
So can I spend a bond with Masterful and Bottom to help him as well? Or does it not work that way around?
If I'd rolled a 3, that would have been really helpful. But I rolled a 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I am putting myself in the way. I am putting myself between Master Blossom and Iron Lion.
So I think that this is the two of you lowering his scale. I don't think there's a role here. The two of you are occupying his attention. Master Blossom, you know that there is no hope for him. Your friends, they're drawing his attention, but you know he's only gathering his strength. He's gathering the winds to him. You can feel the air around you vibrating here. You look and you see that Flawless Jewel is getting Righteous Jade out of here, and that escape is making him even more furious.
Then I have no option. Does their help render him at my scale?
Yes.
Then I drive both the broken and sharpened ends of my flute into his throat.
Roll, which you can do because you have that.
I will roll with water. Flexibility. We see I throw myself up from my prone position, and we roll 2d6 plus 1. What could go wrong? Oh,
nothing.
That's a 12 altogether.
And he looks shocked, like he didn't even see you move. And then the wind changed. His hair blows back from the east wind, and he staggers back, and there's that whistling as the air goes out of him through the flutes, and then the blood. And then he drops to the ground. Let's go to epilogues. Let's start with Flawless Jewel. What is epilogue? Either in the immediate aftermath, the next day, down the road a ways? What do you want to set up as? What do we see here?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be kind of in the immediate aftermath. Flawless Jewel has just led Righteous Jade onto the deck of the ship, where Magistrate's son has just finished off the last of the thugs out here. I think there's just that moment where they stop. They both stop. They both kind of look at each other, and Magistrate's son charges towards righteous. Sorry, not towards righteous. Towards Flawless Jewel, and I think as they're coming in, Flawless Jewel just like pulls on one of the sail ropes and flies up towards the top of the mast, drops down a single chrysanthemum that he plucked from the table inside, and says, "Not tonight, my love, but perhaps one day we will be reunited again," and sort of dives off the top of the mast.
Master Falling Blossom, what is your epilogue?
I think my epilogue is I am sat on the roof again, watching the wind. And down below in the courtyard is Silver Sparrow, perhaps, and in the garden is Chen. And I'm watching the weather vane go round, and it settles. And I say, and I look in one direction, we don't know which way I look. And I say, clarity at last.
Silver Sparrow, what is your epilogue?
I think it's probably the courtyard with Jen, and she's standing there, and she looks at him and she goes, "I want to thank you again for saving me. Because of that, I have a chance to move on." And you'll see her kind of move aside her coat, and you can see that she's still wearing the same sash that she used when in the fight, and it's got the blood stain on it. And she says, "I want to always remember, because I didn't intend to cause any harm."
Chen, our wanderer who wandered in, probably saw the silhouette at the very start of the film. Here you are. What is the epilogue for you?
It's somewhat later, but you see me in the same cut of clothes, but clearly a newly made set.
Nice.
Pledging my service to Righteous Jade, and I am not. You can tell that Righteous Jade is with names. Dawning Joy by his side, so it's not. I've given up my infatuation that I fled from. I don't think we see what's happened to Feng, but I am returning to my place in society, no longer a wanderer, no more considered, more wise, kind of rehabilitated somewhat.
But at what cost?
and you see the pain in my eyes, and I think that maybe you also see Captain Feng looking at me pointedly.
Nice. And that's our show. That's our episode. That's our session. I would like to just a quick go around of things you dug, particularly just do the kind of stars through here. David, anything you want to throw out for stuff you dug, play-wise things?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, everything was great. I really loved just all of the little moments. I really liked that scene in the tea house with Cheng, bumping into the patrons. That was a nice moment. And then Masterful and Blossom calming things down. I thought that was great. Felt very on brand. I really liked seeing the use of the kind of quite of the cool bladed scarf thing. That was really nice. Seal Sparrows. That was really cool. Yeah, just I mean, it was a great session all told. Thank you very much, everyone.
Awesome. Alan.
Yeah, I want to give you a star for a glorious hard frame in a velvet glove there at the end. I thought you with 35 minutes to go, you delightful. And Sherry, I mean, lovely to play with you at last. Just star for that. But you never let the frivolous front drop.
Oh.
I still think that Shadow Chime leapt off the top of that barge. David, I thought that again, that sense of keeping the love unrequited in the sense of next time. Now is not the time at the end of that climactic scene. And Lyra, I thought that for Chen, here was the unobtrusive, heartfelt hero. Chen was the kind of the heart in the middle of this, and I thought that was delightful. So no, I had a fabulous time. Thank you.
Nice. Sherry?
My mouse is not working always, okay. So when I click, but anyway, now it does. When I agree with Alan about the hard frame, I was going, whoa, we still have a long ways to go here. And then whoop, it magically happened. And that was awesome. And Lyra, it is always a pleasure to play with you. Your emotional, heartfelt characters are like, there's so many different, it's like a beautiful rainbow of pathos. And so it was lovely to play with you again and see that, because you carried it off so beautifully. Alan, you were the best future master that a person could ask for. Yeah, no, it was great. It was so wonderful because you never took anything seriously. I think she's a person who doesn't take things seriously because she's never had any hardship. And it was great because then she had to make a choice. And I do think that, yeah, she probably will go along. And David, you weren't playing a demon, you were playing the next best thing, which is, he's the best demon ever, but he's really good at really handsome boys too, and you got that so good. It was just wonderful to watch. So yeah, it was just wonderful. All good character play, excellent game, just rattled on along.
And Lyra?
Yeah, so first of all, stars for finally getting a chance to play Hearts of Wulin. It was great.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And also, like, stars for everyone's character creation. Yeah. Like, it's complex characters just like that. It was, I was I was kind of like, whoa, I'm needing to kind of like kind of keep up here, because it was amazing how kind of everybody had these really rich characters in kind of, and explored that inside a one shot. Yeah, wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I had a great time running this. I really appreciate you coming in, doing this, and getting a chance to do this with you on this Saturday. I'm going to stop the recording.